Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the brand new Spyderco Canis. Very interesting. Oh, look at that action. Really cool, really weird. I remember going through the reveal catalog for Spyderco and thinking, what the heck is going on with that swedge up there? This is really cool. Actually, I ended up liking this knife way more than I thought I would. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on here. And because of another generous viewer, I actually happened to have two of these. This one right here was sent by this gentleman right here at Brady.coil.7 on Instagram. Please give him a follow. It's because of people like him that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. The other one was actually donated to the channel, brand new. Someone bought a Canis and sent it directly to my channel and said, you can do whatever you want with it. Thank you so much for doing that. In this case, it's actually going to allow me to compare one that's been used just a little bit with a brand new one, and they are almost exactly identical, which is great. We're going to talk about that. To the gentleman who donated this, please message me again on Patreon, on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever you originally messaged me. I couldn't find a note with your information because I forgot this was sent brand new from the factory. Let's talk a little bit more, buddy. Very much appreciated. Anyways, thank you also to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. If you'd like to check out my Patreon, get your hands on some cool stickers and some other perks, there is, of course, a link right down in the description. And please follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. These knives, well, the Canis and Spyderco knives in general will both be listed down in the description as well, so you can pick this up if you'd like to. We're going to move this out of the way real quick here and do a measurement here of the Canis. Overall length is 8 inches. Blade length is 3.5 inches. Cutting edge is about 3.4 inches. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1 is coming in at 8.6 inches overall. Let me say this before I get too far, before I forget. The designer here is Kelly McCann, and I don't know a whole lot about Kelly McCann, but I know that the idea or the design philosophy here was self-defense. We're going to talk about that a little bit more here in just a sec, but I wanted to get that out there before I forgot the name of the designer and stumbled around it later in the video. Up against the Spyderco PM2, here's the size comparison a lot of people will be interested in. Spyderco PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. It's just a hair longer than this knife, about a 1/4 inch longer, so a little more than a 1/4 inch. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in the exact same length. Even though the angle of the camera is making this guy look longer, they are the exact same length, 8 inches overall. And last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. Spyderco Para 3 is coming in at 7.25 inches overall. How is the action on this guy? This is using that bushing pivot system, and it's a compression lock. Wow. So this is running on, you can pick up my flashlight and other flashlights down in the description. This is running on, if we can see it in there, phosphor bronze, to my knowledge. Yeah, it looks like it's the case there. I haven't taken this apart, but that's because these Taichung Taiwan Spydercos are almost all the same. It's phosphor bronze. My goodness. Here's the brand new one. Brand new, fresh out of the box. It is all, I mean, it's got a little bit of friction from just not having been broken in yet, but unbelievably smooth. If this is any indicator of how these break in, my goodness, is that satisfying to get that type of action on phosphor bronze. That is indistinguishable, unless you know, right? If you're like me and you know that these Taichung Taiwan Spydercos and a lot of Spydercos in general run on phosphor bronze, most people would go, that's gotta be bearings. Nope, that is phosphor bronze. My goodness, is that awesome. On top of that, the thumb hole in this Spyderco is very easy to engage. You can do the reverse flick, you can do the Spidey drop, right? You can do the compression lock, whip in and out, however you want to do it. The compression lock is easy. Oh man, this is a great knife for the compression lock. It works so well on this thing. For those of you saying I get Yojimbo vibes from this knife, yeah, it kind of is like it's like the Yojimbo's other weird cousin, because Yojimbo sounds like the weird cousin, so this is like another weird cousin of the Yojimbo. Yeah, I get that too. There are a lot of similarities for sure. Action is incredible. Like I said, this is a Taichung, Taiwan Spyderco. For those of you who don't know, Spyderco has knives that are manufactured in the USA, in Taichung, Taiwan, in China, and Japan. The Taichung, Taiwan Spydercos are considered to be, by most, the highest quality in terms of manufacturing. I know that, for people who are diehard, into American manufacturing, which I definitely am, that can be difficult to swallow. But the truth is, as somebody who has handled a ridiculous amount of knives, and many of those include Spydercos from all over the place, yeah, they're right. The Taichung, Taiwan Spydercos are definitely the ones that have the highest quality. I know that that's difficult. It's like, how could that possibly be? Because Taiwan manufacturing is actually really, really good. Very high quality, right? That's not to say that everything that's manufactured in Taiwan is better than everything that's manufactured in America. It just happens to be that in terms of Spyderco knives, the American ones are good. The Taichung, Taiwan Spydercos are better. All right, let's go ahead and talk about carry profile. So thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see there, it's actually a little bit thinner. A little tiny bit thinner than the Para 3. Interesting. I thought it would be about exactly the same. How about length and height up against two knives that are a bit awkward in the pocket, but nobody ever seems to complain about? The PM2 and Para 3. So at maximum height, I'm going to guess it's probably about the same. Almost exactly the same. Yeah, and then in terms of length, it's definitely longer than the Para 3. Not quite as long as the PM2, but it weighs a little. I'm sorry, it's not quite as thick, right? So for some people, this might feel a little bit big and bulky in the pocket. For other people, maybe not, right? Of course, it really depends on whether or not it's legal in your area, whether or not you should be carrying it. That's something you'll have to figure out for yourself and make the right choice on. Let's go ahead and do blade stock thickness here. Thickness, 118, so it's probably between 115 and 120 thousandths. That's great. That's nice, because it's going to translate well to the edge. There's not a lot of room to drop towards the cutting edge. So, yeah, you can see what we're working with there. So that's nice that they chose to do a fairly thin stock. Weight on this guy. So you can see on the inside that we're looking at a steel cartridge liner underneath. This is peel ply textured carbon fiber, but it's laminate carbon fiber with G10. I don't like that. There's nothing wrong with it in terms of strength. Like G10 is plain strong. I like G10. Resilient to the elements, right? Carbon fiber, same way. Peel ply texturing is great. When they do this combination stuff, it makes me mad. Like either do all carbon fiber or do all G10 and charge me less for it. Don't do this half stuff, right? Because it just feels like I'm getting, I don't know, it feels like I'm getting, I just don't like to see it layered like that. And I know a lot of people share my thought there, but in terms of like the execution of it, the fit and finish of what they used here, and the materials by themselves, are they good? Yes. But the laminate thing, for whatever reason, just bothers me. In any case, we have those countersunk stainless steel liners, which, the way that they do that is going to offer weight reduction versus a full liner and then the scale sitting on top of it. So we're looking at a 4.06 ounce knife. I think that's perfectly acceptable. Yes, it's a little over the 4 ounce mark. Yes, it's over the ounce and inch mark. I don't really care. I like to carry knives that are between 4 and 6.5 ounces. Usually, I won't shy away from lighter weight knives, but it's way more about carry profile to me, and this one does not have a bad carry profile. Yes, I'm aware that this has a lynch clip on it. That's part of the reason why I've got the other one out here, so I can show you what it looks like with the standard clip. But for those of you who've been carrying the bug out or the Para 3 lightweight, and you wear athletic shorts every day, right? Maybe this isn't going to be for you. For people wearing regular jeans, regular khaki, or just regular pants, right, in general, I think this is going to be just fine. It might feel like kind of a wide object in the pocket, right? Kind of a big object. But the nice thing is that it's not heavy and it doesn't have any crazy flipper tabs or anything sticking off of it, so it should be fine for most people. Let's do the hardware check. We didn't do that. Get out my tools here. I have some expensive options and some inexpensive options for sure. You can check them out in my description. I'm going to use the Scout titanium driver because I like that bearing palm part. Actually, this looks like maybe it's T10. So these need to be scooted over because the labels aren't making sense. Let's try the T10. There we go, right there. Okay. Pivot. Oh no, it's not. I'm being dumb. I'm sorry about that. I'm wasting everybody's time. It looks like everything's going to be T8. I don't know why it looked like T10 to me. Maybe because other Spydercos have some T10 pivots. T8, T8, T8. I mean, obviously we don't need to do this. Pocket clip screws are going to be T6, but that's fine because you don't necessarily have to take off the... Well, yeah, you do because they go into the liner if you really want to take it all the way apart. Anyways, yeah, the body screws and the pivot are all T8, which is welcome. You guys know my thoughts on that. T8 is better than T6 because it's not quite as easy to strip. Easier on the bit heads, easier on the fasteners. That's great. And there's minimal hardware. 2 screws on each side, and then you've got the pivot, and then you got the pocket clip screws, so that's awesome. No complaints there whatsoever. All right, let's get the other one back out here. Give you guys a look here. Well, let's go ahead and look at the pocket clip since that's something I highlighted a second ago. The position of the lanyard hole is fine. This is one of those Spyderco clips that has a lanyard hole like in the pocket clip. Truthfully, I'm just ready for lanyard holes to be gone. I know that there's always going to be people hanging on to that, but for the most part, we just don't. Do you want proof of this? Go look on Instagram now, right? The trend used to be to attach lanyards and cool beads to everything. You just don't see it anymore. So there can, as many arguments that, if 100 people make an argument for a lanyard hole in my comments section, it is nothing in the vast shadow that is cast by Instagram in terms of what is popular right now. And I know a lot of people are like, Instagram doesn't necessarily determine what's popular. Kind of it does, right? And if not Instagram, then use, YouTube, Facebook, whatever social media platform where there's, knives and, knife discussion is prominent. You just don't see any of the lanyard stuff anymore. So I guess, it wouldn't bother me if there was still one there, like if you put it back up here, but the positioning of the lanyard hole and how optimal it is doesn't matter nearly as much as how optimal the positioning of the clip is. In this case, the positioning of the clip is okay, right? It's not. Technically the carry position is not being prioritized over the hole. The hole is above it, so you have this much sticking out, right? If we didn't have the lanyard hole there, you could carry it just a little bit deeper, which is why clips like this are extremely popular. The design of this is much better, and it still has the lanyard hole in there. Make it kind of weird to fit the lanyard. But anyways, the Lynch clip and the MXG deep carry clip that I have on my Spyderco Para 3, these two clips, these are the very best pocket clips that you can get for Spyderco knives, and they fit a wide variety of different Spyderco knives because of the, the 3-hole thing. So there's nothing wrong with the pocket clip. I just would like to see the whole lanyard hole thing and this style of Spyderco clip just be gone. I want to see Spyderco do something like this so that you don't have to spend extra, because most people that are aware of these clips are just going out and buying them immediately because they work better. So it'd be cool to see Spyderco just get rid of this. And I know a lot of their designs are set up to accept that clip, right? So that's probably their reasoning there. But all right. Anyways, the top of this peel ply textured carbon fiber actually looks pretty good, and it feels nice, offers a little bit of texturing. But as you can see here, you can see that little line right there where it almost looks like a sticker sitting on top of something else. Yeah, that's the laminate style. It is a very thin amount of carbon fiber sitting on top of G10 just to give it a little bit of a, that three-dimensional reflectivity that you get with carbon fiber. So yeah, but how it feels is nice. It honestly does feel high quality. All the edges are nicely knocked down. That's wonderful. Ergonomically, oh boy, yeah, nice and ergonomic. I honestly could do without so much of this hump right here, maybe just a little bit less, but I mean, it's comfortable. And, as far as the one with the regular clip, it really doesn't bother me that much. In fact, I would say, yeah, there's not really a hot spot here. Locking in right here on this primary position for your index finger and digging my thumb into this jimping up here feels great. Now, these knives are designed for self-defense. People got really upset with me with how I approached this with their Yojimbo. Please understand this. Number one, I am not a self-defense expert. This channel has never been about self-defense. A lot of people who are interested in knives in general, think of them as only tools. Some people think of them as only weapons, which is unfortunate. I'm sorry for. I feel sorry for you if you think that way. Seriously, that's unfortunate for you. And a lot of people consider them both. And honestly, in certain situations, I can understand why people consider them both. Right? To deny that a knife can be used that way is also kind of silly. Right? So I get that. And I respect people who practice self-defense. In fact, it's nice that there are people out there who know what they're doing and can teach it properly, just inform people that way. And it's my understanding that this was designed this way as the Yojimbo 2 was. However, let me throw a fact at you guys. The vast majority of people who will pick these knives up will use them for EDC. It does not matter what the design philosophy was behind it. That might be the appeal. That might be, the reason that people go to buy them. But what they will actually be used for, the vast majority of people who carry these knives, it's going to be used for regular EDC. Normally I say 80% of people are just doing EDC stuff, 20% of people are using it for ultra hard use stuff, and then there's 1% that are using it for extreme, like crazy stuff, prying or, using it as a diving board or a means to scale a building or self-defense. Less than 1%. Substantially less than 1% of people will actually be using this knife for self-defense. Is it nice that it has some design elements for that in the event that you find yourself in an unfortunate circumstance and have no other choice but to use this knife? Sure. But to question the validity of this review, reviewing this knife as an EDC tool, to question the validity of it just because the design was meant for self-defense? Most people are going to use this as an EDC tool, so I'm going to review it that way. But I have the utmost respect for the designer and the fact that there are self-defense tools out there. So, that's perfectly fine. I want to, it sounds really preachy, like I'm coming down on people, but I didn't offer that type of clarification in my Yojimbo review, and the same logic applies to the Yojimbo. Most people are EDCing it, so this is beneficial for those people or people considering picking this knife up and using it as an EDC tool. So anyways, so what is the deal with this blade? What is going on here? So the idea with this is, obviously I read that they wanted to emphasize strength or leave enough strength out there towards the tip so that you could, so that this blade wouldn't essentially fall apart in, different situations, using it. And also, it's not like the designer thought like nobody's ever going to use this for EDC. No, the designer obviously wanted to put, the self-defense element into it, but make it also capable as an EDC cutting tool. That's definitely, I don't have to talk to him to know that he knows that this is going to be used as an EDC cutting tool as well. So you have that excess tip strength. You could imagine if this area up here were much higher and you didn't have this, this area out here, then it would come to a much finer tip. But you have all this reinforcement out of the tip, and that's nice. What's the idea behind the swedge? The idea there is to keep that reinforcement out by the tip, but at the same time reduce the weight in the blade. If that area was not here, the blade would be substantially heavier because this enormous flat would carry all the way through this position, and the knife honestly would feel very blade heavy. But as it is right now, it's extremely balanced. You can see there the balance point is about right here. So that's, I get that. Now, how it translates to the cutting edge. Honestly, the edge is thinner than I thought it would be. It is still somewhat thick. What we have down here, I believe, is a bit of a hollow grind. And so you do get, it does get relatively thin down there. It's going to cut. It's going to pass through material readily, despite the fact that we have, you come up to the flat here, you've got a hole, you've got this area right here that falls back down and creates this wedge, right? It's still going to glide through material relatively easily. It's not really going to get hung up in the same way that, like, if it had a fuller or if it had a thumb stud or some sort of, thumb disc up here that would readily catch material. That's not really going to be the case. So if you're going to use this knife to break down cardboard boxes, obviously the blade shape is not optimal for that, but it'll do it. And it's still going to do it just fine. As far as EDC tasks go, it's going to be just fine. And honestly, your precision cuts or your draw cuts, a lot of the cuts that you would do on a construction site or just on a job site are going to be made more convenient by the fact that this is a Wharncliffe, right? I actually have found that I really prefer Wharncliffe style blades in just outdoor, just like whatever, if I'm just outside working and I'm working with wood or rubber or rope or, cutting open packages and different things. Yeah, the Wharncliffe blade is awesome, and you have a lot of usable blade there, and it'll be really easy to resharpen. I think the blade is really cool. At first glance, you look at it and you're like, that is so weird. And then you get it in hand, and after I read about it, I was like, yeah, it does make a little bit more sense, and I'm sure it translates a little bit better in terms of self-defense, right? But it's cool, and it'll definitely work. A lot of people are just going to pick it up because it's cool and because it's weird and because it's different. I get that. Satin finish. Up here, honestly, pretty well knocked down. Not a lot of sharp edges. Inside of that hole, definitely a little teeny tiny bit sharp. Not crazy, not the worst that I've ever felt. As you do the reverse flick with this knife, it is definitely going to shred your fingernails just a little bit. You can see some debris flying, but it's fine. I got no issue there. There's no sharpening choil in this guy, which is unfortunate, but that's the case with a lot of Spydercos, so you're going to get that. It's going to get worse and worse and worse over time, whatever. The longer you use it, if you're using it consistently, it's probably not going to bother you as much. What's the steel? Steel's S30V, does it say? Yeah, CPM S30V. CPM S30V is a great steel. It's very well rounded. It is made for folding knives. It is definitely still considered a super steel. It's powder formed, it's stainless, it's got good edge retention, good toughness, right? Great steel. But it's boring. I mean, listen, like I appreciate, in terms of a user steel, right? For people who are gonna go use this, is it gonna do you well? Right? Is it gonna do the knife justice? Yeah, it's gonna be just fine. But they're charging, I think this knife is $192. It's pretty consistent with the other Spyderco Taichung Taiwan knives that I've seen, right? So if you're going to charge us that much, at least make us feel a little bit special about it and do something different than everything. Like everything out there right now is M390 or S30V. The difference between M390 and S30V, despite the fact that it probably doesn't cost that much more, M390 probably doesn't cost that much more than S30V, right? From the, you know, from the fact that they're just buying the stock and then turning it into a knife. It does have that air of like super high end, right? S30V no longer has that air of super high end. It did 10 years ago, right? Even 5 years ago. But now it's like people know what it is. They know it's good, but they're like, we're bored of it. CTS XHP, Spyderco uses that every now and then, the Taichung Taiwan line. I honestly would have liked to see that. That would have been great. You know, I mean, obviously it would have been really cool to see some of the newer S45 VN or whatever. How these steels translate, you know, in terms of self-defense, I would imagine in that situation, a lot of it is just the fact that it is sharp. But I don't know. I mean, the reason I say that is because it's like, you know, how well does, you know, how much does the edge retention matter in a self-defense situation? Well, how often are you having to defend yourself against, you know, varying combatants with leather? Maybe they're wearing leather, maybe they're wearing Kevlar, right? Well, the edge retention of S30V, I'm laughing about something that I don't understand, so maybe that's a little bit cringy, but to me, you know, considering how many people are going to use this for EDC and what types of people are going to pick this up, right? Enthusiasts, collectors, knife people in general. Yeah, it would have been cool to see something like XHP on it, or just something that's not S30V, but okay, whatever. Moving on. Boy, this is going to be a long one. The knife looks great all the way around. The compression lock is very easy to actuate. I can feel this new one getting smoother and smoother, you know, for every opening that I do. The centering on both of these guys is just dead on. Let's look at this one that's been used a little bit. Yeah, dead on. No blade play in the one that's been used at all. No blade play in the brand new one either. That's great. This is really cool. This knife is really, really cool. So downsides to this knife, what can we complain about? The blade is a little bit weird. For EDC, I mean, it's made for self-defense. It's a little tiny bit thick on the edge. It's thinner than you'd expect. It's a little bit weird. It's definitely over the legal limit for some people, you know. Truthfully, what's going to make the choice for a lot of people is just the aesthetics of it. You're either going to think that this is intriguing or you're going to hate it. That's the way that it is, but that's the way that it is with a lot of Spydercos, right? Lanyard hole pocket clip, let's get rid of that. Let's just, the lanyard hole thing, I'm ready. I'm honestly at the point in my reviews where I'm going to be like, why is there a lanyard hole on this? You know, who's using this? Sorry, lanyard hole people, it's just how I'm going to be. The laminate, carbon fiber, and G10 thing, let's do either carbon fiber or G10. There's people who have been calling that for a long time, right? And then S30V. The S30V on this, S30V is a great steel. It's still super steel. It's kind of boring. For something like this, a new release Spyderco that's really odd, really strange and different, yeah, throw something different on it. Throw something that we see less of. XHP, S45VN, something weird like that. That'd be cool. Can I recommend this knife? You know, the truth is that after all those little quirks and complaints, honestly, this thing is really good. It is made super well, and just the fact that the action and the access to all of these little things, like the hole, you know, in terms of your thumb, or if you're using the middle finger for the reverse flick, you're doing the Spyderco, you know, flick or whatever, the access to the compression lock, the ergonomics of this thing. In terms of using this as an everyday cutting tool, yeah, this is really good. I mean, this is a tool that I would absolutely have no problem reaching for and carrying with me and using for a wide variety of different things, despite the fact that it was almost specifically designed as a self-defense tool, right? This is great. Add the Lynch clip or add the Spyderco deep, the MXG deep carry clip to it. Even without them, it's still pretty good. Honestly, it's not like you have to. This clip is okay, right? 192 bucks. If they had XHP on here or something different, I'd feel a lot better about it. In S30V, you know, 175 would have been great. At 192, I can still recommend it. I love this knife, and it's weird, but they still managed to you know, make it into a functional knife that I would still want to reach for as a tool, right? So yeah, I mean, it's in line with a lot of other stuff that you can expect to see from Spyderco Taichung Taiwan, but it's just a little over where I want to see it in terms of price. Can I recommend this knife? Yes, but you're really gonna have to love it. You know, as a tool, this is something that I think would be beneficial for almost everybody. It's relatively in the right price point. For people, you know, considering whether or not you should buy it. If you're on the fence about the aesthetics and you're like, I don't know, the compression lock's okay, you know, the thumb hole thing's whatever, I don't know about the aesthetics, it's probably not going to be for you if it's wishy-washy. If you like how this looks, if you're intrigued by it, you're wondering if it's made well, if it's a good tool, yes, you're probably going to like this, especially if you've owned Spydercos and specifically Taichung Taiwan Spydercos in the past. So, like I said, you can pick this up down in the description right now for around $192 as of September 2020. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it for today's overview and review. Thank you again to the gentleman who donated the Canis and to the gentleman who submitted his review. It was nice to take a look at one that's been used a little bit and one that you know, is brand new and compare and contrast. So that was really, really cool. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.